Joel, are you on your phone?
Yeah. Just looking to get some new team kits for my social clubs.
What sport are you playing?
Basketball, soccer, footy, rugby, cricket, pickleball, tennis, netball, a bit of esports. Yep.
Gee, bit of a jack of all trades, Joel.
Yeah, well, I've got a pickleball background.
Oh, that's important for the podcast game, the old pickleball background. Where are you getting these kits from?
Get me kits from First Ever Custom. You actually get 10% off when you check out using the discount code SASH10.
So all of those team kits for all those different sports you mentioned, you're going to get 10% off.
Yeah, that's right. So the credit card's getting a bit of a workout, but I generally leave things to the last minute, and only 15 business days turnaround for delivery, so I'm going to get them quickly.
Only 15 business days. When does pickleball season start?
There's many seasons.
Many seasons.
Yeah.
All year round. Well, that's Don's Footy, baby. You can check the links on our socials and in the episode description.
Well, the question was going to be, is it going to be the Bombers or the Plains? And they were the Bombers. They held strong and they were able to hold up.
Merrett continues his charge. Parish returns to form. Goldie hits 10K and the Dons get it done in the West. This is the Sash, definitely not the official podcast of the Essendon Football Club. I am your host, Rob, here with you for the Monday review show, and joining me in studio is Jesse. Hello, mate.
G'day, good to be back after another win. Always good. It's always great winning an interstate game. Rare, very rare coming for an Essendon fan. So sitting fifth on the ladder and pretty ready to have my heart ripped out of my stomach and again.
Love it. Joel, welcome. Hello.
Yeah, hello. It's good to be here. And yeah, win's a win, West Coast aren't as bad as they used to be.
Yes.
So I think it was a good win.
Definitely was. Good to see you both after your adventures abroad. Coincidentally in the same country. Didn't run into each other, I'm assuming?
No, we didn't. We only found out once we got back that was the case. But yeah, it was interesting. I think I was telling you I wanted to go watch the Anzac Day game, so I messaged the local team, the Tokyo Goannas, and I was like, is there somewhere I can go watch the footy?
Goannas, I like that.
They're like, go watch it at this pub called the Hobgoblin, and I was like, that's a good sign.
Omen,
obviously.
Good omen. I heard about that one actually.
Hobbsy. And then I went in there, and the first quarter had already started, and I lasted about 90 seconds. Japan's a pretty quiet, respectful country, and it was about 120 kg Collingwood supporters with no teeth screaming at the top of their lungs at the TV. No. And I didn't even order a drink. I walked in and walked straight out and watched it on the phone. Yeah, I couldn't handle it. Could not handle it.
Can't blame you for that.
But it wasn't just the fact that they were Pies supporters.
No amount of pina coladas, $6 pina coladas can help that cause.
No. And what about you? Did you watch any strange places? Watching Dons in weird places?
I told you Dons in weird places was in the bar in Golden Guy, and they've got these tiny little bars, as I'm sure you've seen, like 4 or 5 people can sit in them, sitting next to this Canadian couple. There was the Adelaide game, the absolute nail biter, and I'm like, come on, get up at the end. And they're like, who is this guy, my mate, sitting there? He's like, oh, God. He does not like football at all. And I'm like, get off my case.
Yeah.
I'm a bloody professional.
Yeah. Maybe that's a question for social media. Where's the weirdest place you've watched the Dons? This is our very, drive time Fox FM. Oh, where's the weirdest place you've had sex, guys? Call us in.
Seriously,
where's the weirdest place you've watched
the hotline?
Yeah.
Hot take it.
Yeah.
At the end of next week.
Message the Sash Insta right now.
Yeah.
I know this isn't live.
Right this second. Yeah. No, this definitely is not live. Definitely not live. Let's get into it, fellas. Plenty to talk about. Let's talk about. Let's start holistically, and then we'll narrow in on the game itself, because you did mention there, Jesse. 5th on the ladder. It's been a nice start. We're at the third waypoint of the season. It's not the half. We've done a third of the season. So we've had 8 weeks. There's another 8 weeks and then another 8 weeks. And then that'll wrap us up for the home and away season. 5 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Look, I'll say from the start that we are exceeding my expectations. I thought we were going to have a pretty tough start to the season in terms of the teams that we were playing. I thought there were going to be some tough games. I was sort of expecting us to be around the, maybe 4-4, 3-5, good case 5, and the best 5-3, which is almost kind of where we are now, if not better with that draw in hand. Looking at the games we've won, I expected us to beat Hawthorn. I expected us to beat West Coast. And then St Kilda, Bulldogs and Adelaide, there was probably maybe one win there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I kind of expected a loss to Port, loss to Sydney, and probably a loss to the Pies.
Yep.
But we've taken points there. But we've exceeded our expectations. So I'm pretty happy. But it does feel a bit similar to last year where we had a nice start and then we get to the bye and it all just falls downhill. What have you made of it, Jesse?
I mean, similar, echoing what you're saying. Pleasant surprise. But also, I'm not necessarily... I'm torn, actually, because I do think that the brand of football that we're playing is much more sustainable than what it was last year. And, within 2 or 3 weeks, barring, half of our current list doesn't get re-injured again.
Yep.
We could have a really, really healthy list coming into the bye and for the second half of the year. And last year, injuries really decimated us, as per usual. But we also need to understand that we haven't really beaten many good teams. We lost to Port Adelaide. We lost to Sydney. We really should have beaten the Pies, but the Pies this year up and down with their form. And then you look at the teams that we have beaten. St Kilda and the Western Bulldogs and Hawthorn and West Coast, they're all sitting in the bottom 4. Or bottom
half of the 8, yeah.
Bottom 6?
Doggies are 11th, Adelaide 12th, St Kilda 14th, West Coast 15th, Hawthorn 16th. So,
exactly.
Look, I think we can all safely say that I would say all of those teams, maybe one could possibly make finals, but I think we can absolutely put a line through Hawthorn, West Coast and St Kilda.
Yeah.
Maybe one of Adelaide or the Bulldogs can turn it around. But, yeah, but also, it's not as though we've played a heap of those top 8 sides. We obviously haven't played Geelong. We get to play the Giants. Same with Melbourne. Same with Fremantle. Same with Carlton. I expected probably St Kilda and the Bulldogs and Adelaide to be better than they have been at the start of the season. I think most people had Adelaide in their top 8.
And Western Bulldogs.
Yeah, and the Dogs definitely in the hunt as well. So, you can only play who's in front of you. But I do agree with you that I think the way we're playing is better and it seems to hold up. And, if you watch all your footy programs during the week and listen to the radio, all the, data guys are all talking about how the numbers are better for Essendon and they're showing that we're doing more, particularly in the defensive side of the game. I may as well mention it now, but something I wrote down was as a good from the game this week is that our team defence has improved.
Yeah.
We've gone from rounds 1 to 4, 98 points against average, and that's come down to 74.5 points against average. Yes, obviously people could make arguments about who we've versed in that window, but I agree. I think we're playing a better brand. It just the question is going to be, will we continue to see this into the back half of the year when the young guys, their bodies start to tire, injuries start to mount up, all those sort of things start to go against you, and fingers crossed, are we going to be able to do it ideally the week after round 24 when the finals are on? Because that's the one thing Essendon wants to see happen.
It presents as a very finals type of football that we're playing. It's very highly contested, locking the ball in the forward half. I feel like the actual game style that we're putting together now, the grit that all of our players have, most.
Would you say an edge, Jesse? Is there an edge?
I like to stay away from it. I actually will stay very clear from that word. But the point being, the amount of pressure that we're putting on, there's not many quarters this year where we probably aren't rated in the above average to elite category in pressure ratings. And you can see it. Jonesy didn't have a huge impact on the game, from a possession or a marking point of view, but he was relentless in his attack. And he's now, proving to become, almost as good at pressuring as a forward. And you never would have seen that back in the day from him. Just seeing all of our players, whenever there's a loose ball, we typically win the ground ball. We're winning the contested possessions. I think we're sort of +9 or something like that in contested possessions since round 3 on our opponents. We're sort of +15 to 20 in uncontested possessions as well. So we're also getting it on the outside. So I really feel like if the only thing that stops us from being a competitive beast in finals is exactly what your point is, being, does the list hold up under that? Because it is a tough brand of football, and you're going to get bruised and you're going to get sore. So it'll be interesting to see how it transpires.
Yeah, and I think it just takes time to build that level of fitness as well. So, I don't want to adjust my expectations from the start of this year too much, no matter what happens throughout the year. I just wanted to see us be competitive, and I wanted us to have effort. And then I think the Port Adelaide game was obviously a real turning point. That was kind of the old Essendon, and you see sometimes in really, really good teams before they build, they have that sort of shocking loss when they're expected to be a bit better, or I think. Before the Cats won their first flag, when they started winning flags, they lost the first 3 or 4 games, and everyone was thinking about getting rid of Bomber. And then
they lost to North Melbourne,
yeah,
at the Cattery. And I know this purely because I was hanging out with Travis Varco a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me they lost that game. It was through work. It was work later. I was like, "Hey, Trav, want to hang out?" No, it was through work.
Tell me about that North game.
Hey, remember when you lost to North in round 4 of 2007? Yeah. Oh, what a classic! No, anyway, you're right. They also went on. I think they. 2 weeks later, or a week later, they kicked 200 points on Richmond. So we're not quite at that level, but no. I see what you're saying.
Well, that's it. And it's loss. We've had many Richmond, losses we needed to have in the last 20 years, and we bounced back for 1 week. Essendon generally got rinsed, bounced back, the heat was off them, became shit again.
The redemption cycle.
Yeah, the redemption cycle, that's right. Yeah, God, I can't believe I almost forgot what that was. This is just a longer one that's happening. But now we've kind of backed it up a few weeks in a row, and they haven't been big wins. But as you said, we've dominated from a statistical perspective in a lot of those games, and maybe that's a concern that we haven't won by more, but we're winning, and the effort is generally there for the whole game. When we get challenged, we can raise to another level, or we don't fall away.
And you don't necessarily see us... you can tell we're just a difficult, frustrating team to verse now, where... every time there's a slight momentum shift, we have risen. There's only been a few times, Adelaide, Collingwood for that second quarter where, they kicked multiple goals in a row. But, the game, Adelaide kicked a few as well. But I think what was great to see over the weekend against West Coast was almost every single time they kicked 1 or 2 goals, we just responded with 1 or 2 goals or 3 goals. And it's so not something that we're accustomed to seeing as a supporter base, and I just really hope that they can continue doing it all year. Yeah,
well, we've had some pretty high praise for the opposition coaches. Now, I was looking at it this morning. I was like, I should clip that, and I forgot to. But Adam Simpson was talking about how good our contested work was and how hard we were to stop. Same again on Anzac Day. Craig McRae was like, "Oh, that's the best contested team we've played so far this year, up until that point." So, I think it's pretty clear. People recognise that Essendon is a harder team to play against, and that was one of my first wishes at the start of the season. I was like, I don't want us to be an easy beat side, even though we're clearly not the finished product yet. I just want to be a side where people are like, "Oh God, we have to play Essendon this week. That's going to be tough. That's going to be a challenge, not 10-goal win, here we come." Which is where it's felt. So. Yeah, look, it's been a great opening 8 weeks. It's exceeded my expectations. I'm sure it's exceeded a lot of expectations for a lot of fans out there, but we were all there last year. We all know what happened post-bye and how, the legs got weary, they're tired, but who knows, maybe whether it's just another year of maturity or the Arizona camp or all those positive factors, professionalism and all that's going to help us come into that back half of the year. And as you said, Jesse, getting a few guys back from the injury list, provide a bit more depth, a few more options. One guy comes in, one guy comes out. The roles may be changing up. You think about our midfield and how awesome have obviously Caldwell and Durham be, but I look at those two being absolute still babies of the competition going. They're not going to be able to do it every week for the next 12 weeks. So when a Setterfield, say, comes back in, he'll obviously have a big impact, and it means they can share that load around. Which is a
huge, huge inclusion when you think about now how limited we were with contested ball winners last year, how affected we were by Setterfield after round whatever it was, going down with his foot injury. It felt like we had a huge missing piece defensively in our midfield, and now having Durham and Caldwell in there doing the job just as well as what Setterfield was for the first 7 rounds of last year. It's such a luxury now to think that, let's just say Caldwell does go down with an injury, like his calf is a typical Essendon calf that is no problem, but ends up being 6 weeks.
12 months, yep.
Yeah. It would be great. You know, we've got Setterfield potentially a week away. I think he might be a test for this week. And if he does play, or if not, you know, you've got Dylan Shield in, and he's not the exact same type like-for-like player.
Dylan Shield? I've never heard of this guy. Who is he? Who is he?
He was once a decent player at GWS, and then he was traded to Essendon and was eternally dog shit.
Right.
No,
yeah.
he's been all right.
Yeah.
I don't want to dog him that bad. But, you know, you've got like-for-like replacements ready to go that are genuine, great footballers, and it's not a luxury we've had for a really long time.
Yeah, exactly. So nice to have some depth. Hopefully we can keep bringing people back into the team rather than coming out of the team. But we'll see where that happens. Let's get to the game, fellas. Wasn't the most thrilling game of footy. Very, very slow first term, where both sides will kind of find each other out. They'll, you know, have a loose men back and all that kind of stuff. Then we kind of got going. I definitely felt that we looked the better side, but just some dumb mistakes, some bad moments. Then looked to West Coast credit, some good moments from them. They kept the game alive and kept going from there. I never really felt that they were going to win, though. Maybe that was just me being half asleep by the time the game finished, but I was never sitting there going, oh, God, they're going to win. I just kind of felt that we'd do the job, and that's a bit of the confidence I've got from the side the last few weeks. But end of the day, we walk out with the 4 points, and that's all that matters, really.
Yeah, and from a trip, you know, over to the West, it's not as easy as it is, and with some pretty competitive games and a lot of trips back and forth interstate over the last little bit.
4 interstate trips so far.
Yeah, so that kind of all adds up. So it was really good to see them win, and it's kind of I felt the same. Like I never really felt that threatened until maybe the last 5 or 6 minutes when
Tim Kelly was steaming out of the middle. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, but that's because we've dominated a lot of those games, even though they've been close in so many areas. So you can kind of feel that we're on top and that it should go our way. Are we going to goods?
Yeah, go for it.
So I reckon clearly his best game of the year in this position was Nick Martin.
Yeah.
I know
So
Merrett
good.
played a fantastic game, but I almost think it would be 3 votes. Or he's a good chance of getting 3 votes anyway, Nick Martin, because he was so effective and he played that role so well, and he was defensively strong.
Yeah.
He took a lot of good marks going back with the flight. And it was also, I think, the first time I'd seen... I feel like Redmond maybe was... and I'm pulling this from nowhere, obviously, but sulking a little bit that he wasn't the distributor and he wasn't the runner anymore, you know, because he's not done that role now. And then I feel like he'd maybe accepted it, and Redmond played probably his best game of the year as well by accepting the fact that he is not that guy anymore and has to play a really strong defensive role. And I don't know, it just felt really, really cohesive from those guys. And Martin was phenomenal. Like, he just looked so good. And you can almost back that every time he goes over to Perth, he's going to play a ripper game.
Which is almost a double-edged sword, because they're just going
didn't
to come
want him.
even harder at him when he's
didn't want him.
open.
Nah, he seems pretty... Oh, look, who knows? He seems pretty humble and pretty thankful to Essendon for giving him a shot, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've still... he re-signed, so we've obviously got him for another 3
years or
more
something,
seasons at least. Unless, of course, he does request a trade, but... Yeah, this was the game where I was like, okay, I'm actually settled on him playing this role.
Well, he actually defended properly.
Yes.
Like, he showed he was a capable interceptor, and he was the most prolific interceptor in our entire defence for the entire day, even more so than what Mackay was. Like, Mackay, he was still fantastic, and he counts into my goods as well. He was so bloody good again.
Well, it's funny you mentioned Mason Redmond, because he was someone I put in my goods because he has had a bad start to the season, but he had the highest intercept possessions with 11.
Yep.
Martin just had one less with 10. But he was also very contested, Mason Redmond, which was one thing I really like, because he's, like you said, he just hasn't looked the same this season.
Yeah.
Been floating through the year a bit.
Yeah, but now he's starting to find himself. But back to Martin, where we started, you're right, because we all know he can kick, we all know he can move through traffic, and he can do the great things with ball in hand, but what's he going to do on the other side of it? Because you are still a defender at the end of the day if you're playing off half back. And he showed it. And who knows what happens in the future when Ridley comes back and a few other guys are back on the side, how this defensive group shapes. But it's good to know that if we're going to continue to play him there, that he can do the role, because early on the season, there were still moments where I was sort of like, is he that kind of player? Is he too offensively minded? Does he want to stream away too much? but he showed it. And he's played 8 games across half-back now in his career.
Could he get an Australian jersey?
If he plays like that every week.
Yeah, if he does that for the next 16 weeks of footy, whatever it is.
I mean, from a stats perspective, his stats have been really, really good.
He'd be the highest. There wouldn't be any other halfback in the league that would be averaging more disposals than him. I don't know.
So
that's off the top of my head, but he's getting almost 30 a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely racking them up. So, yeah, no, I'm with you. Really, really good game from him. Awesome to see him settling into that role.
And taking marks more so than anything. Because, I mean, geez, we are going to look that good as a defence when Ridley gets fit. And we've got
8 marks from Martin.
Two just ball, like people that can dispose of the ball and take marks like that in the defence. That is an absolute nightmare.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice problem to have once Ridley comes back into the side because, I mean, I still think he's our best defender.
Yeah,
I think most people would. So yeah, going to be nice to have him back. We have to talk about the captain. Like we do about every single week. I don't know if there's anything left to be said.
My prediction was right. That's what I'll say.
What was your prediction for him to be best on? Or
best on prediction. I
think I've said that the last 3 weeks in a row, and I've been right every time. So
there you go. Great. You should have stuck to your guns.
Yeah, exactly. And next week as well. Let's put him down for that.
All right. Well, instead of talking about him constantly, or we can still talk about him, but I'll ask a question: how much of Essendon's consistency and edge type behaviour that we've got at the moment is down just to Merrett, or obviously Brad Scott brings that, but I really feel like his leadership, and you always heard him growing up that he was kind of like a real stickler for standards, and he would get angry at other players when they were letting the team down at training. So I feel like he must be having a huge role off the field as well, not only on the field.
What I have to say. It starts from him. He gets the message from Brad, and then he's the one that needs to enforce it to the players. And every time we've had our back up against the wall, it's him who stands up. And it was the same over the weekend. I think it was in the third quarter when they were starting to come back a little bit. He kicked a couple of amazing goals and just turned the tide. So to me, I mean, obviously it's a team effort, but you got to lead from the front and people follow. And that's what good captains do. And
he's just shy of averaging 30 touches in a goal a game. He obviously averages the 30, but he's just shy of the goal. The difference is that, if we compare him to Dyson, he's a, do as I do leader, follow my actions, I will show you what we're supposed to do. Whereas I think Dyson was more of a, I'll talk to you about it, listen to me, I'm here for guidance, I'm here for everything, if you want to speak, that sort of leader. That's how I see it as an outside viewer. Whereas Merrett's just get on my back, I'm going to show you how it's done, follow me each week. And I had the radio on the car just before, and they were talking about they were like, Hodgie, Luke Hodger, who's your All-Australian captain? And he's like, and then halfway through, he's like, I'll give you a short list. Before I even finish the short list, he goes, Zach Merrett.
Yeah.
And then he was speaking about him and the other captains, and he goes, look, I don't have the data in front of me, but I would say that of all the captains in the AFL, he would have the highest pressure rating of all of them, because we know what he can do with the ball. He's one of the best kicks in the competition. We already know that. He's probably been a top 10 mid in the comp. Maybe he's pushing his case for a top 5 mid in the comp at the moment. And he's a pressure-hungry beast. There's not more you can ask for him, every single week. So just keep it up.
Yeah. He's really stepped up. I mean, we saw he was like that in his first couple of years, that pressure-hungry kid. And it dropped away from his game. And it was one of the parts of his game that I love was his chase down tackles. But in saying that, by God, we need to play him more in the forward line because he looks so dangerous in the forward line.
Just resting forward.
Resting forward, and he's a pressure small forward if he needs to be. But playing him across the half forward line, typically you want your best ball distributors there. And now that we're getting some health into our list and we're seeing some of our younger kids step up. That's 2 weeks in a row now. Brad's made a pretty unorthodox change, and the first in Collingwood was putting Martin to half forward, which was completely unexpected. And then in the West Coast game, he put Merrett in the put him in the forward pocket for a little while and then rest him at half forward. And he should have had 4 goals and almost 30 touches, which is just absurd.
Yeah, I mean, he kicked, I think, the best goal of his career, that dribbling one.
That was so good.
I think he's definitely got a problem with his set shots. I think we all know that. And short kicks, he can obviously do, but he still spent a lot of time in the middle. He still was at, I think, so he was at 88% of centre bounces, which is the most of anyone on the field. But maybe, instead of going, here's an extra couple of minutes in the midfield, just go chill down there for a little bit, because we know we've got the coverage now in that area where we didn't 3 or 4 years ago. And you're right, he's starting to become a little bit of a goal sneak in a way. And that, I think that was always the thing that we spoke about in previous years, even when he was going all Australian, that we were like, the gap between him and the best mids in the comp is that your Petrarcas or your Bontempellis or whoever it may be, they're ending the season with 20 goals. Whereas Merrett was hitting 5 to 10. I think he might be on, what's he on now? Let's find out. Should have probably pulled that up before I made
7
that
or
point.
8, I think.
Yes. So that's it. He's on track, I guess is the point that I'm trying to make. So yeah, another 10 coaches votes. He's closing the gap on Isaac Heaney. I think he's only 8 votes behind for the coaches votes. I'll just pull that up. So Heaney's 55, Merrett 47, and then next in third is Caleb Sarong on 40, and then Max Gorn 36. So those top 3, obviously a pretty big gap, but even the top 2 more so. So what else can you say?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Just don't get suspended, because that seems to be the one thing that always seems to stop him. Another guy who has done a lot for this team, and like Mason Redman, has had a slow start to the year, but that was easily Darcy Parish's best game for 2024. And a good sign moving into the deeper part of the season, where the younger guys, their tanks aren't going to be at the level, and you look to the guys who've been there longer and are experienced and go, you're the ones who are going to have to carry this next part of the season, and he's one of those people. And if he's winning the footy the way he was on Saturday night, distributing it the way he was, his hands below his knees, just
fantastic.
It was nice. We always speak about it, and Merrett always harps on about it when he's talking about him playing well. But it was really good to hear on the coverage on Saturday night when they were talking about him. There was one where I think it got out to Gresham, and then Gresham kicked it forward, and Scully or Pavlich was like, "Who got that out there?" And then the other one was like, "That was Parish," and they were like, "Wow, that's just his specialty." And he's doing some defensive stuff, although not super incredible work, but obviously great tackle on Anzac Day against Pendlebury and a few other things, but I think he's really being complimented by the fact that he's not like with Merrett, it's not all on him. There's guys around you who are going to do that extra work to make the opposition think, what's Durham up to? What's Caldwell up to? What are the other guys up to?
He's almost playing slightly more of an outside role now, which is great for him at the moment, coming back from injury. He's still getting down and dirty, but he's got more support now, as you said, and if you look at most ground balls, you don't need to go in because Caldwell's there in a second. He's just there, and so is Durham. So you're like, I'm not putting my nose in because one of those guys is going to headbutt me and knock me out.
And I would like to think that there's less pressure on him mentally, because he doesn't have to be this guy
for sure.
Who carries the midfield, because we've got options. It's not just was a couple of years ago we used to sit here and it's like, well, if you're in opposition, you either tag Parish or Merrett, and that's the end of the game. Whereas now it's like, hey, there's options.
It's exciting, and they are all super complimentary now. It's quite a diverse midfield group, which is we're not one note, which is exciting. And
we love diversity. We love it,
absolutely. And I remember when Melbourne became good, it kind of happens all of a sudden sometimes, and then all these players who you think are terrible players, like James Harms or something like that. You're like
Neil Bullen,
Neil Bullen.
Suddenly, oh my god, this guy's a gun.
Yeah, it's like, how did this guy get good? He's been terrible for ages, and now he's just good.
Yeah,
and I remember talking to my Melbourne fans about that sort of stuff. I was like, Spargo, what the hell? Who is Spargo? But I feel like that's kind of happening to me a little bit now. Like people are coming up and telling me about like, Duzza or Caldwell or someone random that they've never mentioned before. And I'm like, I feel like that's a good sign. You know, that all these people
It's always
are
great
noticed.
to hear from an opposition supporter. Like, them like talking about a Dons play. Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, it hasn't.
It doesn't happen
for
often.
a long time. It's been you guys are trash. Who is this guy? He wouldn't get a game anywhere.
But that's it. It's just a really like promising midfield cohort, and like, you know, we spoke about at times last year being like, oh, you know, on paper it could be good, but then obviously we add like I think we can all agree that Durham is the X factor that's come in and really shaken things up, because I didn't see this 12 months ago. I don't think many of us did.
He was good over the weekend.
Obviously the coaches have, and credit to them. But, you know, you've got your leaders in Merrett and Parish. You've got the X factor in Durham. Caldwell, as you said, is just a super hard head at the footy. Archie Perkins looked really good for his first game back. Really good user of the ball.
Amazing.
You know, tough at the footy for what presents as a pretty boy. Paco you can throw in there if you need to. Obviously, Setterfield, when he's fit, can come in and be that, you know, blocker and defensive type. Like, you know, you speak about playing Melbourne. You want Setterfield in that game to go to those real big bodies and present well there. And then, obviously, we got the guys who have sort of pushed out in a Hobbs, and then one day Elijah Sardis might get a game, you know? So there's just a plethora of options, and it's
good to see.
It's a breath of fresh air.
It was good to see the Durham-Yo matchup for the first half, because it wasn't the entire time that they were matching up, and to be fair, Elliot was an absolute jet. Like he towed us up. It was him and Waterman just 1-2 punching us all the time.
Tim Kelly too, he was a gun.
Tim Kelly in particular stood up in the second half when Yo came off with injury.
Yeah, and like Perkins was doing some work on those guys at times as well. But like I don't know, I read a few comments from people who just said we lose like 12 months ago. That's a loss. 100% we lose that game 12 months ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just a bit more maturity in that group now.
But what I liked about it is that, albeit you would look at it from the outset and go, well, Durham probably lost the battle initially to Yo because he had sort of 3 of the first 5 centre clearances, maybe 4 or 5 goal assists and a goal himself. If you actually look at it, Durham at almost every stoppage was at the bottom with the ball in his hands and Yo tackling him second to the ball. So it's good to know that, as I said, without Setterfield, we've got Durham who's just as good, if not better already. Let me ask you this question before you continue. Both of you guys, do you know of any other footballer that hits the contest harder than Durham at speed? Because I have not seen many footballers run through a stoppage like that consistently. Like Dacos did it over the weekend. There's a few that do it rarely, but this is something that we're seeing commonly from Durham now, like in multiple games happening regularly.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, you could obviously look at some of the, you know, real top teams, and you look at, you know, like a Tom Green, you know, a Clayton Oliver,
track and stuff.
You know, track just, you know, you think of the big bulls of the competition and just the way they move through packs, like Paddy Cripps as well. Like, guys like guys who just know because they are such a physical presence, they can just do that. You know,
Clayton Oliver's probably the only one really that gives me like some similarity to what Duz is doing.
Yeah, I think I'll be like, you know,
prime clarity.
He's like he's not quite as stocky as a build as some of those other guys are. Like they're really just like filled out sort of players, but he's still got that kind of, you know, lean.
He's got so much power still though.
Yeah, he's powerful.
So powerful.
And he picks up the ball so cleanly.
The one-handed pickups. What is with that? Yeah. He's actually from a different planet.
Yeah. And then look, there's probably a couple of guys at the Swans as well who you could probably throw in there as well. But I take your point. But I mean, the thing with Durham, like that I've been thinking about now is you go back to the one game that he didn't play and how just destroyed we got in the midfield by Port Adelaide. And there was obviously some coaching stuff in there, the way they sort of set up at the stoppage and they really dragged our mids out, but we just didn't have that guy there because I think Setterfield played, but was kind of on one leg. If that my
Yeah,
memory serves me
he came
right.
out with an injury.
Yeah, exactly.
He was injured. Like
Injured,
kind of
came in,
injured,
wasn't good, and then he
yeah.
came out again. And then just how we just got like they shown us up, and you look at that game now and go, all right, is he going to turn around a 10-goal margin? Probably not, but it's a different game though because he's adding something to this midfield that we just didn't have before. And like you were saying, Joel, I've got mates now who have just been like, man, where's Durham come from? And I'm like, man, I don't even know where Durham's come from.
Yeah.
You know, this was the skinny kid who shanked his first ever kick on goal. And I'm like, yeah, he won't make it.
Yeah, literally. That's what it was like.
And I was wrong.
Thank God.
I remember last year at certain times, like he's clearly significantly improved in a lot of areas. But like I remember last year when we were getting smashed, he was one of the ones that still wanted to hit people and hurt people and give 100%. I feel like he was still trying to be a presence, and I was always like, oh, that's a good sign that he's not like putting his head down when all these other people are. And I don't know what he's been eating or drinking, but he does look a lot bigger as well, and it's just he's strong. He's just so strong.
For sure. Imagine having, like, fast forward 5 years, right? You've got Martin, Durham, Caldwell, and Perkins all playing through the middle. Like, big boys, can all take overhead marks. That's something else that has improved so much out of sight is our ability to take marks.
Midfielders who can mark the ball.
Midfielders who can mark the ball.
Or let alone like raise their arms above their head.
Literally actually raise their arms above
remember,
their head.
Like there were times when we'd have like Shield playing with both shoulders strapped, and you'd see him just be like, oh, for a mark. Like, no, I can't. My shoulders are taped in too much. But like, you know, it's like Durham's 21, Perkins is 22.
Martin's
23.
Is he 23?
He's 23.
Yeah, he was a little bit later, I think.
How old's Caldwell?
Similar
Caldwell
age,
is
maybe
23 as well.
Yeah.
So like that group, and you know, you look at some of the other midfields around the comp, and like there's obviously a few guys who are a bit more experienced, but if you keep that core together for the next 5 years, and then obviously Yada Hobbs, Yada Sardis to complement it,
it's pretty nice.
Who knows? You know, Nate Caddy comes out of the VFL. Ready to go.
How many?
Don's 2030, boys. Get up and about. Don's 2030.
It's the start of a dynasty.
There's a three-peat. There's a three-peat coming in there somewhere.
Oh my God.
2030. Yeah. Oh, hopefully win something before then. But anyway, any more goods, fellas? Because I've got Parish, I've got Merrett, I've got Martin, I've got Durham, I've got Redmond. There were a few other guys. I mean, Kyle Langford did his usual job.
Hard to go past Kyle.
Anyone else you guys want to give a prop up to?
Who else? Goldie. Just a quick shout out.
Yeah, 10K hit outs.
Can he just like not ever take on players again though? Have you noticed how many times he's done it this season? He always does it.
Did he do that at North? I can't recall that ever happened.
Neither.
He's just been given a license.
When did you
by
ever
Scott.
watch North games unless it was against us?
Yeah, rarely. I don't know, but I'm like, has he just been hanging out with Sam Draper too much? And Drapes
he
is always just
balks.
like, Drapes always trying to take people on. Goldie's now like,
he's actually done it numerous times, and there's a lot of times he gets himself into trouble like he did over the weekend.
But could like imagine being an opposition player after a game and you've lost, and you sit in the rooms and someone's like, did you get balked by Todd Goldstein? And they'd be like, yeah, I did. I did. Like, don't come Monday, mate. You just got balked by the 36-year-old ruckman.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you guys this question. I do love what Goldie offers us, but I really feel like there's an opportunity that we're missing out on not playing Brian in the AFL, and I do feel like our structure lost shape over the weekend where we didn't have Peter Wright in the forward line, and we just didn't really have as much presence in. I now understand how important Draper is to us as a team because he just offers a contest every time you kick the ball. He never gets outmarked. And you've always got an option to create a one-on-one or a stoppage when you kick to him, which is exactly what we want because we're a stoppage team. And look, Goldie was very questionable with a lot of his disposal, and he got found out around the ground big time. He's great at stoppage. He's great at centre bounce, but around the ground, he gets himself in fantastic positions because he's so experienced and he's a hard runner, but his disposal he got found out, I think, over the weekend a bit by Bailey Williams, who's younger, more athletic. And I just think if Draper isn't going to play over the next couple of weeks, then, bring Brian in and try out the tandem ruck with Brian. He deserves it. Like, there's no other player in the AFL that probably deserves more of a call-up than Brian. And I couldn't just imagine how frustrated he would feel seeing that, Draper's been dropped. And I don't even know if he was even listed as emergency for the game.
No, he didn't go over. He wasn't there. So, I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess we sort of saw last year, like, when he did play, how limited his minutes often were. And I think that's probably one of the reasons that they wouldn't, is because Draper can obviously go forward. Goldie can go forward as well. Probably not as well as Draper does, but I think it's pretty clear that if Brian isn't in the ruck, he's on the bench.
But he played well as a forward against St Kilda, and he had 2-3 marks inside the forward 50. He had 2-3 shots on goal.
Which St Kilda game are you talking about?
There was the game that he played in last year, yeah.
Against St Kilda? Was it St Kilda or someone else? I'm just having a look at his stats.
I'm not sure who was it against, but it was
Sydney? Sydney?
Maybe it was Sydney. Yeah, it was Sydney.
Yeah, he had 15 touches, 29 hit-outs, yeah.
He had a really good game against Sydney, and he looked good in the forward line.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all well and good. People talk about, Caddy's not coming on, this and that, but, like, you get shit service in the VFL. You get dump kicks into the forward line. It's very hard to be a leading tall forward in the VFL. And, it's proven that, Brian comes in, gets some good service and had a really good game in the forward line. So I'm not as inclined to say he's not a forward. If you're 204 centimetres and you get good service, you're a fucking forward.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. I think if he was ever going to play, it would be obviously like this week. And there was also there was another round where we ran only with one ruckman. I can't remember which game that was. So I think
is he just not playing then this year at all?
I think if they
just put a line through.
I think they just want to develop him. Is the way I view it. He's still contracted for next season. So you would assume that there is obviously a discussion being had with the coaches and him being like, we still see this is where we see you in your development project.
Yeah.
The question is if he agrees with that and he wants to stay, or if he disagrees and he pursues other options. Like Caddy, I mean, we all want to see him because it'd be great, but we can clearly see that Scott is very conservative with development, much like a Chris Scott, where they just keep guys in the twos and then suddenly they come in and you're like, oh wow, this guy's ready to go because they've taken that time. And key position players, it's very common that they spend the first even few years spend a lot of time in the reserves because they just need the time. The body's not there. What I've watched of the VFL at times, service can be bad because they might be getting thumped by 10 goals. But, think about Harry Jones and the run and the chase that he does when he doesn't get the ball. Caddy's fitness is a long way off that, I think. So that's just the sort of case. I guess we just hope that, one, there's clear dialogue with Nick Bryan about where he's at, which I assume there probably is. But the question is, does he agree with that? Because if he doesn't agree, end of the season, he's probably requesting a trade.
Yeah.
But if he does agree, then that's it. And then
he'd be stupid too, I would say. You'd be very stupid to request a trade knowing that even if Goldstein on, the rare chance goes one more year. If he goes
let's go to 20,000, boys. 20,000. Let's go.
If he goes one more year, like you're locked in as the spearhead dual ruckman for the next 10 years at a team that's clearly on the rise with a decent list.
And you're the age pro, like all those guys we're talking about. He's 22, going 23 this year. Like you're the same age profile as all these other boys.
Just depends. There's so many variables, right? But you'd hope that he sees a future at the club.
Yeah, exactly. Because I like him, and I think he's a really, really good ruckman. I think he's proven that when he's played.
Nick,
VFL.
You went to primary school with my younger sister. I'm a Don supporter. Come on, if you're letting me down, you're letting her down, mate. All right.
Because he's definitely watching. We know that.
In particular, watching.
I mean, he went to my high school, but the thing is that I probably would have left by the time he was there because we're 10 years age gap. Anyway,
definitely
bads. I've only got one. I mean, there are general ones about dumb mistakes and all that kind of stuff, but like, I don't know. I like ADJ a lot. I really do. But there are just times where he just does look so out of place when the game's getting fast and physical. And if we had a full strength side and we're coming into a final, I don't think he's in the team, because I feel like when it gets real heated and there's a lot of contested bodies, that he's just not able to make a big impact. I know the pressure stuff's good, but yeah, I do wonder what's going to happen with guys coming back in, because I think it's important that we play some bona fide small forwards. The question is, who are we running with at the moment? Because, I am, on one hand, I'm like, yes, we should persist with him. But on the other hand, I'm like, I think he's not at the level right now.
Yep.
That's my point. So
yeah, I noticed it more in that game than I had in any of the previous games he's played since he came into the team. I thought in the other games, like he did do enough pressure-wise, whereas this time I was like, no, he's missed too many contests, or he's slowed down too many times when it was his turn to go or whatever, and I kind of feel like I agree with you. I'm not sure what the go is with Menzie. He would be the logical person to come back in.
Still 2 weeks.
He's injured.
Yeah,
2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, okay.
And you still have to look and go, who else is coming in? Like, is Dylan Schill going to play as a small forward, or is he going to play as a midfielder? I don't know. I assume he's playing in the midfield, so he's probably not him.
Imagine playing Shields as small forward. It would work.
Yeah.
You reckon?
Yeah, he's a good kick for goal. He's nifty and he's quick.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he'd rate it.
Yeah, so like Menzies...
Get over it, man.
And then like...
Just get in the fucking ones.
Be a role player, Shield.
Yeah.
Because like...
Seriously, not all about you, mate.
Because obviously, look, Gresham's the number one in the small forward stakes of the club, clearly. And then it's Menzie who's injured, Hind who's been average when he's come in.
Yeah.
And then ADJ who's a kid, but has, shown that he's still got a fair bit to go. And then, you even look at his brother who has been playing, half a dozen games for the first time in like 2 years. So he's definitely not going anywhere near the AFL side in 2024.
I think the West Coast small defenders were really good over the weekend. And that's something to not taken lightly. Like they completely took Stringer out of the game as well. Gresh didn't have a huge impact. I really do feel like their trio of small defenders shut out that element of our game quite considerably. So
Guelph is the other one, sorry, but he obviously is already in the team. So
and that contest on the wing, which is the most common one that you see in the first quarter, where the ball gets kicked to the wing and Davey's got front position and Ruben Guiney just like pushes him out of the way. Like in all fairness, Ruben Guiney's like a bigger version of Gimby, sorry.
I was like, who the hell's Ruben Guiney?
Sorry, I don't know the West Coast players' names. Jesus Christ. Put me on the cross.
Harvey Weed? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Harvey Weed? That's Harvey Weed? Yeah, Harvey Weed.
But he's like a bigger version than Duz at the moment. And he was a bit of a beast over the weekend. So, you can sort of forgive him for that. But that's what you get from young players. And I think you got to take the good with the bad sometimes. We don't really have many other options. And he's going to be way better for the run.
Yeah, I agree.
In the long term. So, I think you just bank if we're getting the wins and he's in the team, he had 3 touches. He didn't have a great day at all. Probably his first time playing at Optus Stadium. So, yeah, I feel like you're going to get those lulls. You're going to get those ups and downs. But at this point in time, beggars can't really be choosers with small forwards. So,
Nope, they definitely can't. Any other bads from you, gentlemen?
Trying to think. I would like to maybe make them more of our centre clearances and inside 50s, I think we could... we were really accurate for the first few weeks, and then the last few weeks it's kind of left us a little bit, and we've probably not capitalised on a number of our forward entries. So maybe that's a little bit of concern if that's not getting arrested.
I feel like our entries have been... a lot shallower though. Like I feel like we haven't probably had as many, like a lot of our kicks have been sort of like 35, 40 metres out, and they're not, you'd expect an AFL player to kick them, but...
Well, I think it's because we back our key forwards to do it. We back the fact that Peter Wright will comfortably have a 50-metre shot. Paco can have a 50-metre shot. Langford's, probably between the 45, 50. You back him from most spots to get pretty close, if not hit it. So I think because we're very confident in those guys, we'll go, rather than just, all right, let's just get to the top of the square. No, let's back the fact that we'll give Peter a 55-metre shot on goal, and I mean he kicks them most of the time.
Most of the time.
It's also pressure. I mean, the last 2 weeks, our kicking for goal hasn't been fantastic, and
we hyped it up too much.
90,
it's all
the
my
Moz.
fault.
It is actually all your fault.
It's all my fault.
It is. I was about to say it was the pressure of Anzac Day and playing against 53 West Coast Eagles supporters, but no, I think you're right. You put the Moz on them.
Yeah, I mozzed us too hard.
Do you think it's interesting, the forward 50 efficiency? So we've gone from being a team that can't really defend in the first 3 rounds, but a team that can score, to now being a team that can keep teams to a lower score because we're doing a fantastic job of setting up defensively behind the ball. We're really locking the ball in our forward half. But because the ball is in our forward half and their entire team is in the 50, it becomes more difficult to score, obviously, in those circumstances. So I think people would say you sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul in that situation. I would say, all good premierships are, they begin from defence. So I think
the P word. Oh no.
Yeah, stay away, stay clear. But yeah, I mean, I'm happy to sort of sacrifice that. I mean, I would say, if you're not in front of 93,000 people or 53,000 West Coast Eagles supporters, I would assume if we're at Marvel in front of a home crowd against GWS, we're probably going to be kicking a bit more confidently.
That's fair.
Now, speaking of Marvel Stadium, game this Saturday, if you guys were going to sit anywhere at Marvel Stadium, where would you want to be sitting?
Smokers in the Medallion Club.
Clearly, that is the place to be.
Which is the entire balcony, by the way, guys.
Which is the entire balcony.
And you can get pizzas out there.
Exactly.
Smoke and vape.
Yeah, so
vape is allowed.
Exactly. And Ticketverse, not Ticket Blaster, they're now Ticketverse, as it says here on my run sheet.
Ticketverse.
They are the premium reseller of Medallion Club seating. And this is, what a perfect game to go sit in some good seats.
Yep.
Because what is it? Is it third versus fifth or second versus fifth? If I look at the ladder, something like that.
Third versus fifth, and it's not at 6:30 on a Sunday.
It's 4:30, which is prime time. You go,
Lovely.
You can have a couple of drinks, and then maybe go out for dinner, or maybe even go to one of the fabulous restaurants that are also.
Surely there's 40,000 there. That's like prime time.
I would hope so. Like I would hope we are bringing the noise this Saturday.
That's right.
I want the roof to be rocking. I want it to be shaking. I want people to be going nuts, and hopefully we make a statement and take a big scalp against a very, very good opposition.
Yeah.
Because
we owe them as well. They embarrassed us.
They absolutely embarrassed us, and you do wonder if, while I'm sure the
They'll
coach
come back big time. We'll be keen to hit him.
Yeah, and whilst I'm very sure the coaches will be speaking about all the good stuff Essendon's done, I do reckon there'll be a fair few Giants players that there'll be a little voice in the back of their head being like, "This will be easy," and I think that's what we want to ideally jump them early. Get the playoffs nice and loud, make them realise that it's not going to be the walk in the park that it was.
I don't reckon they'll think
last
it's
season.
easy. We're proving to be a pretty tough team, and GWS doesn't have a good history at Marvel. They don't win many games there, so they'll come out. But oh god, I hope Brad has the score line from that game last year just pinned up on the whiteboard all week.
Yeah,
he seems like the kind of bloke who would.
Surely, surely.
Yep. Let's take a break, gents. We'll come back with some hot takes and a bit more chat after this.
Well, the question was going to be, was it going to be the Bombers or the Plains? And they were the Bombers. They held strong, and
they did held strong. It was good that Scully got it in there. I'll tell you
why is it a negative? Why is he putting the Plains as a negative?
Yeah, so we lose with the Plains.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, if he's listened to any episodes of the podcast ever, that's probably why. We're the unofficial, emblem. Yeah. Is the Plains, and
the Essington is the Plains.
Yeah.
The Essington Plains. That's what it is.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's Boeings are the Planes and Airbuses are the Bombers, right? Because Boeings are falling apart at the moment.
I thought Airbuses were made by Boeings. Are they not?
No, I've got a feeling they're different.
Oh. They are different.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Fly Airbus. Yeah. Good from Scully. Glad he got that in there. I was sitting there in the last 20 seconds, being like, he's dogged me, yeah. He's absolutely dogged me, but he got it in there. Pav had a little laugh. No Paco though, but in his defence, I don't think Paco had any worthy enough moments of them going ape.
He also was like, Paco's the best thing I've ever heard. Yeah. Whoa, and didn't even say it once. So he was doing a sheedy just then.
Oh, he sheedied us.
Sky, you've heard me. You just sheedied us.
You sheedied us, yeah. I mean, there was that moment where like the ball was like 50 out in the boundary and Paco like kept it in. Yeah. And they had a snap and it fell short. If that carried and went in, I reckon we would have got
That was
one.
a Paco.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's it. He was waiting as the game went on because Paco kicked a reasonably good goal pretty early on and he would have been like, there's going to be a better moment.
Yeah.
But it
and
never
then he
came.
hit the post twice and then that was it. But it was good. He got that in and I thoroughly enjoyed that. He memed us at the very end. So
yeah. So it was him and Pavlich on the call, and I was listening to that pod with Sky, and he was like, "Oh, I'm not a West Coast man. I went for another team growing up. They were just my employer." But I felt like I could still sense a little bit of rivalry between him and Pav on the call. I just felt like they were talking over each other a bit, and maybe had to sit on opposite sides of the commentary box or something like that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I mean, I thought they were pretty good. I saw a few.
They were good.
I saw a few people saying that they were really biased. I mean, there was pretty funny. I was rewatching it today, and there was one moment where, there was like a ball, like there was a tackle and then a ball up called, and Adam Papali'i is like, "Oh, yep, no Pryor there. They'll ball it up." And there's a really long pause, and Pavlich is like, "Yeah, I don't like Pryor. I wish that was holding the ball." And I was like, "What are you talking about, Pav? What are you talking about?" But I thought they were pretty good. Like it was one of the better coverages, to be honest.
Pav made some pretty good calls. That came to fruition. Bit of an oracle.
Bit of an oracle, you reckon?
Yeah, he was. Shout out to the Pav. I used to love him.
Yeah.
If he was in Melbourne, he would have everyone would have gone ballistic. Won a All Australian centre half back, All Australian centre half forward, kicked a heap of goals.
He could do it all.
Yeah, he was great.
He could do it all.
Well, he wasn't in Melbourne, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, well.
So fuck him.
Yeah. All right, let's listen to some hot takes. Only a short bunch this week. I was too sleepy to post the link, but we still had the regular people send them in, so we'll get into them. This first one is from Roaming Red Dog.
Well, the question was going to be, is it going to be the Bombers or the Planes? And they were the Bombers.
Fuck yeah, Scully. Fuck, man, I thought Scully wasn't going to give us the shout out, but he fucking did. What a good cunt, eh? Oh, another win for the lads. Hell. I reckon I'm going to have a fucking dead set heart attack if we keep having close games like this. I can't take it! Fuck! Oh, Zach Merrett, I love you. Duz, I love you. Holy shit. Suck my eggs, Harley Reid. Fuck yeah, go Planes.
There you go.
That was elite.
There we go.
Well done.
He was up and about that.
Did he
fella.
say suck my eggs?
Suck my eggs?
Yeah.
What an
I've
insult.
not heard that. Yeah. Just the regular suck eggs.
Yeah, suck my eggs in particular.
Nah, good.
Next one's from Harley Who. A lot of Harley chat tonight, it seems.
Good evening, gentlemen. I've just stayed up to watch this side again. Heart attack again. I think that once Reed and Ridley get back, we can put Martin around the ground and let him do whatever he wants because we kind of need a bit of a spark down forward, I think, when Stringer doesn't fire. Alan Davey, he's not up to it. He needs to go to the VFL. With Reed and Ridley coming back in, I think Laverde's off it as well. So I think we're yet to have our best team on the field, but I can't deal with this shit anymore. I can't deal with it.
Can't deal with it.
You can't make anyone fucking happy as a football club.
Pretty grim.
Getting the wins on the board and they're fucking unhappy.
Yeah.
Jesus
Very
Christ.
Even like the day after winning a premiership, I think we'll have a lot of supporters who are like, that wasn't good enough.
It wasn't what I was expecting.
Yeah, it doesn't feel good. I still hate myself. What's the problem? Laverde had a few Laverde moments, but I think credit to him. That last quarter, he did some pretty good, desperate defensive acts. And had a pretty tough night because Jake Waterman's in pretty good form.
So good.
But
Device.
had a real crack old lab, so I think he deserves a bit of a props for that.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. But you can just tell he's playing like a player that just knows that he just is not the guy. He just knows there's so many other people to come in after him. You can just tell he knows that his next spot in the club is the captain of the Fortnite esports team.
Yeah, well, I think I was replying to a comment depending on how you look at it, he's either the fourth or the fifth key defender at the team at the moment. Ridley and Mackay are 1-2, and then Reed's probably they view as number 3 and looking forward, and then whether or not you think Kane Baldwin's with him or not, that's up to you. So he's either 4 or 5, and then obviously there's a Lewis Hayes and stuff. It would be number 6. So tough time, Strolled Lav. But look, I thought he had a real.
Get him on the wing.
No, you and all your wingmen. You and all your bloody wingmen. 20 wingmen. Yeah, we'll have Jake Kelly on one wing, Laverty on the other.
Yeah. Just the 4-player wing pronged approach.
Yeah. Forget 666. We're going to break it.
The fork attack.
The fork attack. All right. Next one's from Sean. Thank you, Sean.
Hey, boys. Sean from Perth here. Just leaving the game, and God, we'd love to make that hard work for ourselves, but it's good to get the win. Good to get the trip out here done. Don't know how apparent it was on the telecast, but the Eagles seem to, like to be culture vultures and love to rip off other clubs, being the plastic toys that they are. And they dropped a video of Sheeds swinging the jacket, followed by a series of highlights of Eagles players dropping massive hits, and then got all the crowd up to start swinging the scarves, and after every goal, swinging the scarf. So, I don't know. Just wanted to get your opinion on that, because I don't know. I think it just highlights fucking how poor the culture of that club is. Thanks for that, boys. Cheers.
I like that call. Yeah, get your own thing. Stop holding on to it. If anyone should be doing it, it should be us, not you.
Yeah.
Think of someone else.
Yeah, seems a bit forced. Look, I can't comment too much about the West Coast Eagles, apart from the fact they have a Hungry Jacks at their training ground. That's probably the only thing I know about them, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's our thing. It's our thing. It's
weird.
The rivalry feels forced these days. I don't, I spoke about it with Scully. It's nothing these days. It's irrelevant rivalry. So, look, good on the West Coast Eagles media department for trying to get him going, but it's a no from me. Yeah. 2 to go. This one's from I Love Parish. Oh, there you go. Joel's swinging the scarf. There we go.
It's a no from us.
Yeah, it's a no from us.
Get your own thing.
There we go. I Love Parish.
DP3. More like DP3 fucking Brownlow votes. Come on, Darcy. There we go. That's the fucking footy he wants you to play.
There we go. Short and to the point.
Nice. It's good to see.
That.
I was happy to see it.
I like that.
He's still probably got one too many kegs on him, I reckon, though. I'd like to see him just a little bit lighter. Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
Just a little bit lighter.
We're not allowed to talk about weight anymore in footy, mate. Weight's gone.
Fucking hell, Jesus Christ. What can you speak about these days? Seriously. Yeah. A couple more games into him. Maybe one keg lighter, and that's Brownlow Parish, I reckon.
Brownlow Parish, Jesus.
Well, Merrett had him as his Brownlow favourite at the start of the year, and a lot of the people on the track, a lot of blitzers were saying the same thing, and
he was looking really good.
He looked really, really good. So hopefully he can recapture the vibe.
Yeah. But don't take too many votes off Zach Merrett, because he's actually looking pretty good for the Brownlow. We're going to wrap it up, fellas. There's only one way to wrap up the hot take segment, as we know. Put a ribbon on the whole thing. Some say he lives in a cave and he only eats a species of rare toad to survive. While others say he was the one who invented the stand rule in the AFL. All I know is his name is Lurker.
How did the stand rule come into Lurker's repertoire?
Erratic Essendon evades eager Eagles eventually, enacting an excruciatingly enigmatic embodiment of edge. Essendon escapes Essington. Nice. Presenter proclaims Paco and Plains perfectly. Go Bombers.
There we go.
He said Paco.
Yeah, there we go. Old Lurker, great work.
Can Lurker, if you're out there, if you get
He's
reception in the cave, if we win a final, can you send us a video and be the twerker? whilst lurking.
Lurking and twerking.
That-
we had the smirker last week. We had a pretender.
Yep.
Or can we just get you on with the anonymous mask on? And
black
actually
out
don't
the
show us your
camera.
face. We don't want to see it. But you can come on for a pod
Yeah.
as the cave walking lurk man
The lurker.
with an anonymous mask
Yeah.
on.
See, I feel like. Do you guys ever used to watch Top Gear?
Yeah, that's him.
It's the Stig. That's
Yeah.
that's
Lurk
where
is
I'm,
the Stig.
That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
He's the Stig. It's Michael Schumacher. That's what it is, yeah. Yeah. So
He's in a cave of sorts. and that sort of stuff.
yeah, let's not go there. Let's not go there at all. Let's not go there at
You
all.
are twisted.
Joel. Thoughts and prayers.
Well, that's a good place to wrap up.
Yeah,
then, I think.
that is a dark place to end this program. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. Thank you, everyone who watches on YouTube as well. Thank you to our sponsors, of course. First Ever Custom, great work. If you need custom sportswear, they're the people for you. And if you do want to go sit Medallion Club this week, Ticketverse, they are the people who will get you the best tickets in the house. Thank you to our premium subscribers. We love your work. Premium show this Thursday as we preview the Giants game. That should be an absolute belter. Final thoughts, Joel?
Loving what I'm seeing. A win's a win, and we're winning close games. So keep it up, boys. Loving it.
Jesse?
GWS, get down, get loud, get up to the level 2 smokers at Medallion Club.
If anyone finds us, I've got a lot of Japanese darts left over, and I'll happily hand them out.
Perfect.
There we
I'm
go.
definitely there.
There we go. Thanks, everyone. Up the plains. Go the mighty Bombers. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Ciao.
Don't.